All right, so we are on part 11, session 11 uh, of this Knowing Your Enemy Bible study. The purpose of this, as I believe the Lord led me to do this Bible study, uh, was really to know the workings of the enemy. Like, yeah, we know the enemy is up to this or doing that or whatnot, but we don't really know like the depths of the enemy. And in addition to that, I had prayed asking God months ago to reveal the secrets of the enemy, basically, to show me how the enemy does what they do and how they, yeah, just basically how they do what they do. Like, how are they able to do what they do? Um, that it not be um, secret, that they not do it in secret, because they are doing things that are affecting me. They are doing things that are affecting others. And we should know as children of God, uh, what exactly is the enemy doing and how are they doing what they're doing? What are they behind? And I was trying to say that in a better way. It didn't come out as clear as I wanted it to, but yeah, just exposing the enemy bare naked, um, just so that we have the advantage by knowing, as opposing as opposed to being unaware of what the schemes and devices of the enemy are and what they are truly behind. Okay, so I'm going to move on. And before I do a detailed recap, I want to go back to Revelation 18, where we were covering verses on Babylon and the merchandise specifically of Babylon. There was a verse that I left out. I totally forgot to mention it. And I thought it's a really important verse. And it was in Revelation 18:23. And so we saw how Babylon is referred to as the mother of harlots or prostitutes and the abominations of the earth in Revelation 17. And I said that Babylon is a system set up in the earth and by Satan and his cohorts, the other fallen angels, which denies God and does everything contrary to God's way of doing things. Idolatry, sorcery, witchcraft, the occult are a part of this system, which is currently in full operation in the earth and responsible for things that have been happening and that are still happening right now in this country and around the world. As God has been just like, he definitely answered that prayer, because I've been seeing all the workings of the enemy, and God's just interweaving everything and how it just applies to things today. And it's amazing, because it's like, okay, God, you're definitely answering me, and it's slightly overwhelming, but I'm grateful that he is answering, because he is faithful to answer our prayers. In the verses I covered, let's see, they talked about how Babylon rules over the kings and the political leaders of the earth. So key, political leaders. Kings, like I said, being just like the people of the earth. And that its merchandise includes slaves, bodies, according to another translation, the souls of man, which I noted to think of that in terms of sex trafficking, child sacrifice, and also even mind control. Also, even actors, musicians selling their souls to the devil is, something that we hear. Hollywood is ruled by the devil, although there may be godly people in Hollywood, but most of Hollywood is ruled by the devil. And then, think abortion. Those are things I did mention last time. So I'm trying to make my way out to go to my Bible, and it's not. Okay, there we go. And forgive me, I do not have it set up yet. I usually have all my Bible verses pre set up, but let's see. Hold on, let me just duplicate this page, and we're going to go to Revelation. I might back it up and go to just to show Revelation 17 or 18 early on in verse 13, where it talks about the merchandise of Babylon being souls and such. Okay, so here, verse 13, well, in verse 11, it says, and the merchants of the earth will weep and grieve over her. Her is Babylon, because no one buys their cargo, goods, merchandise anymore. And then it lists several things before, right after that. And then verse 13, I was highlighting last time that it mentions slaves as being the merchandise of this system of Babylon and human lives. And then in the New King James Version, it specifically, let's go there, verse 13, it specifically said bodies and souls of men. I don't know. Yeah, that note wouldn't say anything. And so I wanted to look at verse 23 in the Amplified. Again, referring to Babylon. And it says, and never again will the light of a lamp shine in you, and never, this is judgment being pronounced over it, and never again will the voice of the bridegroom and bride be heard in you. For your merchants were the great and prominent men of the earth. It sounds like a group of people, like, you know, like elite people, were the great and prominent men of the earth, because all the nations were what? Deceived and what? Misled by your sorcery, your magic spells, and poisonous charm, it says. So I mentioned last time also that Babylon is associated with, you know, idolatry, sorcery, and such. All having to do with the fallen angel, all having to do with Satan. And so I wanted to bring attention to that verse since I forgot it last time. And I've been covering idolatry and the occult being directly related to idolatry, and idolatry specifically being the worship of false gods, also known as deities, who are Satan and the fallen angels. We saw how God warned Israel, which we can say Israel is a prototype of the church, as they were God's people, chosen people, and we are his people. And he warned them not to do the practices of the other nations who worship these other gods and participated in occult activity, which was usually spoken of in connection with idolatry or false god worship when we would go and see them in the verses where God spoke on them. And today, people unknowingly participate in these things like astrology, horoscopes, zodiac signs, psychic readings, not knowing what they are dabbling in. But there are those who knowingly practice the occult, witchcraft, voodoo, devil worship. And so I want to interweave, as God has been interweaving things and revealing things, and connect some things right now. So Let me see. I know I'm going to probably have to go right back out, but just the verses we're going to cover, we see how Satan attempted to get Jesus to bow down and worship him, but with no success, of course. And there's a few accounts of this, but we're going to look at Matthew chapter 4, verses 8 through 11, which will probably, yes, it has to load. So bear with me, please. Going to verse 8, New King James Version, verse 8. Okay. Let me just highlight that. Oh, it might take a while, so I'll just read. Again, the devil took him up. Oh, no, it said, psych, you're not there yet. All right, I think I'm good now. Verse 8, again, the devil took him, Jesus, up. This is when Jesus was sent to the wilderness by the Holy Spirit intentionally to be tempted by the devil. And okay, and here it says again, the devil took him up on an exceedingly high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. I really wonder, how did the devil do that? How did the devil take Jesus on an exceedingly high mountain? I'm just curious. I'm just thinking, and that's what I think every time I read this. Like, how did that play out? Anyways, let me move on. Verse 9, and he said to him, all these things I will give you if you will fall down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. Verse 11, then the devil left him, and then the angels came and ministered to him. The devil's a fool, I would say, to even attempt to get God himself, even though he was in the form of man. He was both God and man, Jesus, to get him to worship him. But that's been his goal, to get worship. He wanted the worship of God. And worship belongs only to the one true God, who revealed himself as Jesus Christ, who created everything, including the devil. So that's really silly of the devil to even attempt to do such a thing when you think about it in that manner. God created everything. He created the devil and his angels. And the book of Revelation talks about this, and specifically worshiping of Satan, and this being a huge issue of the people of the earth, worshiping false gods in general, who are the fallen angels, Satan, which we know Satan is going to get the whole world to worship the beast, or at least we should have some knowledge of that. The Antichrist, the man of sin or lawlessness, who is according to the working of Satan, who is to come. And according to here in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4, I want the Amplified version though. Verse 4. But in verse 3, I'm going to read that as well. It says, let no one in any way deceive or entrap you. There's the warning not to be deceived or entrapped. For the day would not come unless the apostasy, the falling away of the church, comes first. Oh, it says, that is the great rebellion, the abandonment of faith by professed Christians. That's going to happen. And the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, the Antichrist, the one who is destined to be destroyed. His destiny has already been determined by God. He knows the end from the beginning. He's already determined it. But, you know, things play out in between that he doesn't necessarily control every detail. And then it says, the Antichrist, verse 4, who opposes and exalts himself so proudly and so insolently above every so-called God. So he's going to exalt himself above every God, so-called God, that is. So there's only one true God or object of worship, so that he actually enters and takes his seat in the temple of God, publicly proclaiming that he himself is God. So he's going to say that he is God. That's crazy. And I don't think I ever really caught that, like the reality of that he's going to be pretending to be God. And people are going to fall for it, apparently. And then in the book of Revelation, Jesus showed John this in Revelation 13, chapter 13, verses starting with verse 1. Okay, it doesn't have to load. Good. Let me just highlight quickly. And so this is the beast from the sea. I don't know how many people may be familiar with Revelations and the beast, but I've learned quite a bit about Revelations when I was clueless when I first read it the first few times. Now I have so much more information about Revelation. It's crazy. Like, it's really been revealed to me now. And so it says, verse 1, and the dragon, Satan's the dragon, stood on the sandy shore of the sea. Then I saw a vicious beast coming up out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, which those 10 horns are 10 kings, and the 7 heads are the 7 mountains. And on his horns were 10 royal crowns. This is also in the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel talks about this same beast. And on his heads were blasphemous names. And the beast that I saw resembled a leopard, but his feet were like those of a bear. And his mouth was like that of a lion. And the dragon, who is Satan, gave the beast, his power and his throne and great authority. So Satan's going to give the beast his power, his throne, and great authority. That's to come. I saw one of his heads, which seemed to have a fatal wound, but his fatal wound was healed, and the entire earth, it says the entire earth. It didn't say like some of the people, most of the people. It says the entire earth followed after the beast in amazement. They fell down and did what? Worshipped the dragon, who is Satan. That's what he desires, worship. They fell down and worshiped the dragon because he gave his authority to the beast. They also worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast, or as great as the beast, and who is able to wage war on him? Going down to verse 8, says all the inhabitants of the earth will fall down and worship him. God already determined it. This is his story. He already determined it. It's going to happen. All the inhabitants of the earth will fall down and worship him. Everyone whose name has not been written since the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who has been slain will worship the beast. So anybody that's not written in that book of life, wow, whose name has not been written since the foundation of the world. Okay. I've heard different takes on this, but I know my name's in there, and yours should be too. Then verse 11 talks about the beast from the earth. Then I saw another beast rising up out of the earth. This is the fourth beast, I believe, because there's 4 beasts. I know I didn't cover it in this, but from my studies of Daniel and Revelation, there are 4 beasts. Two or three of them have already been, I believe. So then I saw another beast rising up out of the earth. He had two horns like a lamb, and he spoke like a dragon. He exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence when the two are together. And he makes the earth and those who inhabit it. He makes the earth and those who inhabit it worship the first beast, whose whose deadly wound was healed, whom Satan gave him power, authority, great authorities, it said, and his throne. Verse 14. And he does what? Verse 13, sorry. He performs great signs, awe-inspiring acts, even making fire fall from the sky to the earth right before people's eyes. Witchcraft. That's sorcery. And verse 14, and he deceives those unconverted ones who inhabit the earth into believing him. So these aren't believers, apparently. They shouldn't be, because of the signs which he is given by Satan to perform in the presence of the first beast, telling those who inhabit the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded fatally by the sword and has come back to life. And he is given power to give breath to the image of the beast. So that the image of the beast will even appear to speak and cause those who do not bow down and worship the image of the beast to be put to death. He also, verse 16, compels all the small and the great and the rich and the poor and the free men and the slaves to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, signifying allegiance to the beast, and that no one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let the person who has enough insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the imperfect number of a man, sorry, and his number is 666. So here, I just want to read this note. I know you probably won't, let me see. Can't really see everything because certain things are in the way. Let me just scroll up and read. So it says, regardless of the earthly power of the two beasts, the demonically controlled Antichrist dictator and his false prophet described in these verses, they and their mentor, Satan, fall far short of the power, perfection, and majesty of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, whose perfection is represented biblically by the number 7. Amen. And then here, see what the note is here. So here they say, this is not actually 3 6s or equivalent, or the equivalent in Greek or Hebrew letters, because we know the Bible was written in Hebrew, the Old Testament written in Hebrew, the New Testament was written in Greek, as commonly represented. Such a combination would not be used. And if it were, the sum would then be only 18, because in the alphabet or alphabet-based numbering systems like ancient Hebrew and Greek, they place values are not used, but the letters are treated more like Roman numerals. So what John is most likely indicating is that the letters of the name will add up to 666. So there's a way to determine based on a name, the number that represents that name, or the number that that name is equivalent to. So they're saying here that the name of the beast will be equivalent to the number 666. Let's see. So yeah, I'm not going to read all of that. I thought that was a pretty interesting point that, because it says here in verse 17 that people will either have the name of the beast or the number of his name. So his name, the number 666 represents his name. It's not necessarily, hopefully you get it. I'm going to leave that there. So there are people that Satan and his cohorts have convinced to worship him, and they, Satan and the other fallen angels, that is, that there are people that have been convinced to worship him and them, and ultimately he will have the entire world, in a sense, worshiping him through this Antichrist, through this beast, who they refer to as the beast, in the very last of the last days, because it's only going to be a 7-year period, I believe, when this happens. In the last 7 years, oh my gosh, it's crazy to think of it like that. But how is he being worshiped today? That's what I want to go into. So I'm going to use some extra biblical literature outside of the Bible to give understanding. I know these things are usually referred to as conspiracy type stuff and whatnot, but truth is the truth. You can call it a conspiracy or whatever. It may sound far-fetched, but I know God has been pointing me in directions to show me these things. So I'm not doing this without him. I'm doing it with him. But I know that these things would usually be looked at as crazy or, not true or whatever, because they are supposed to be secret and whatnot. But I'm going to go ahead and dive into them and what I found on them specifically. Let me go to the next slide. All right. So I'm sure most people are familiar with or heard about Freemasons, Masons, Freemasonry. And I have here the definition being the teachings and practices of the secret, fraternal, men-only order of free and accepted Masons, the largest worldwide secret society. I'm not going to mention anything about it, but I just wanted to say, the Eastern Star is the female portion or sect or whatever that is complementary to the Freemasons. I know some of us may have family members, like I had my grandmother was actually an Eastern Star, but my mother said she only went to one meeting or something like that. I don't know. So I don't think she was heavily involved. But I've definitely repented of her being in it, being a part of that, because it does have to do with the occult. So I'm going to go to, let's see. I'm going to have to go. Maybe I'll just type it in. Let's see here. I should have had this page up, but I didn't. Forgive me. I really don't want to do it on Google, but Lord protect me. I don't know if it matters, but I'm gonna pull up whatever this is called, whatever browser this is. Hopefully it loads sooner than later. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might take a little while. Mm, okay. Jeez Louise. That's taking too long. Maybe I'm just going to go to my other notes because I don't want to take too long. So I'm going to have to do some scrolling. Jeez. Things are taking a little longer than I'd like them to. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. No. All right. You know what? I think because I pulled up, I tried to open it. Okay. Yeah. Because I tried to open this browser, that's why it's taking so long. Let me see. This might not be any better, but I'm going to just go for it and type in. I wanted to have the information on the screen so you're not just listening to me talk with nothing in front of you. Freemasonry. Oops, ATM. Okay. So I just want to highlight certain things from this website on Freemasonry, and it says not found. Ain't that something? Oh my gosh. Did I spell everything correctly? Oh, I didn't spell it correctly. Ha. Okay. It's okay. This page looked just like that other page. Okay, so here. This doesn't look like the page that I want to go to. Forgive me, guys. Let me find where I am here. I'm not as prepared as I would have been, so I would have made sure that I already had this stuff up. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to read something that's not there, and then I'm going to go ahead and read what's on this site. So Freemasonry is often the target of conspiracy theorists, as it's always they're always referred to as a conspiracy, or that the people that talk about this stuff are conspiracy theorists, and who allege that the Masons are responsible for orchestrating entire political, financial, and cultural movements throughout the world. And, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, are these conspiracy theorists just either people that were a part of these groups and then God took them out and saved them? Or are they just, you know, believers that God is enlightened? I mean, this information has gotten out some kind of way. So, yeah, so this piece, I'm going to read it again. Freemasonry is often the target of conspiracy theorists who allege that the Masons are responsible for orchestrating entire political, financial, and cultural movements throughout the world. Now, that's not unbelievable. And then here says Freemasonry is referred to by numerous names. Some of these names include the Brotherhood, the Craft, the Order, and the Lodge. And then you have Blue Lodge, which consists of 3 degrees, entered apprentice, fellow craft, master mason. And the 3 degrees are a progression with the goal of being to become a master mason. A master mason being the highest degree attainable. And then here, the 33rd degree is an honorary degree which cannot be sought. One has to be recommended for it. One of the most, skipping down to here, one of the most known symbols for Masonry is the letter G. And it says, depending on whose interpretation you believe, this symbol can represent geometry, God, or gnosis. It's more likely to it most likely represents gnosis for them, which means knowledge, it says here. Yeah, so it says here, others within the order, because there are Christians that have, that are also, or people that say they're Christians that are also a part of Freemasonry or the Freemasons. And they would traditionally interpret the symbol as God, thinking that that's what it is. Whereas others within the order define it as knowledge or gnosis. Then here says there's a great deal of secrecy in Freemasonry from the beginning. This person that will be considered an entered apprentice is kept in the shadows regarding the full meaning of the Masonry symbols and ceremonies. A member of the lodge only receives further enlightenment as he rises through the degrees. Each Mason must swear a series of oaths to keep the secrets of the craft as he learns them. Only Satan wants to keep stuff in secret. He also agrees to severe penalties if he ever lets them slip. Freemasons are emphatically called sons of light. Interesting, because the devil disguises himself as an angel of light, because they are in possession of true meaning of the symbol, while the profane or uninitiated, meaning those who are not a part of the society, who have not received this knowledge, are said to be in darkness. Isn't that such a perversion of the truth? Like saying our way is the right way and your way is darkness. Like we have the truth but you don't. Like a true Christian doesn't have the truth but they do, type of thing. So as the Mason passes through the degrees of the lodge, he receives true light and is considered elevated above those who have not had the mysteries of Freemasonry revealed to them. And then it's not, there's a second page. Looking for a certain paragraph, but I can't. Oh, look at that though. I didn't even see this part here. I'm going to read it just because I just stumbled across it. Let me just go ahead and read this then. It says, although Freemasonry requires members to acknowledge a God in order to be accepted into the lodge, the God of the Freemasonry and the God of the Bible are not the same. There's a great difference between the two concepts of God. The Masonic God, the great architect of the universe, or the grand artificer of the universe, is an all-inclusive life principle that lies within all living beings or things. In Freemasonry, God is not a personal being, but an impersonal force and energy that has no substance. And then here it says, as the unifier of all religions, Freemasonry holds that Christian, Hebrew, Muslim, there goes Brahma. I'm sure that has to do with Brahma, the god Brahma. Brahman, the followers of Confucius and such, can assemble as brethren and unite in prayer to the one God who is above all the Baalim. Interesting. Baalim probably meaning multiple gods. all the gods in a sense. So in other words, the biblical God is reduced to the level of all the other gods and rendered as equal with the gods of those religions. Therefore, by definition, Freemasonry is a religion of plurality that strips all others of their uniqueness. I didn't want to read too much because I have something else I wanted to read on this, but I think this is important. So it says Freemasonry has adopted a pluralist approach toward Jesus Christ. Generally, Masonry teaches Jesus was just a man. He was one of the exemplars of one of the great men of the past, but not divine, and certainly not the only means of redemption of lost mankind. He was on a level with other great men of the past. Says his life and legend were no different from that of Krishna, the Hindu god. He is the son of Joseph, not the son of God, according to Masons. And it says in Masonry, Jesus Christ is not to be looked upon as the Savior, Redeemer, or God incarnate. He is to be viewed as no different than any other prophet, spiritual leader, or guru. The Lodge does not permit the name of Jesus Christ to be used in any of its prayers or rituals, of course, because Satan knows who that is and the power of his name. And when the Bible is used in ceremonies, all scriptural references to Jesus are removed. All prayers in Mason lodges should be directed to the one deity, to whom all Masons refer to as the grand architect of the universe. Wow. Wow. That says a whole lot. Okay, but I wanted to go to another article that sheds light and gives deeper understanding of what's really been at work behind things that have been going on in this crazy old world. So I'm gonna open up another window, and I really wish I had this. Let me see. Let me see here. Oh, geez. Now we're flooded with news. Okay. Forgive my unpreparedness. I'm not going to get far, apparently. Let me see. I want to copy and paste something. If I can get things moving, but I know it's moving a little slowly. Let's see. Okay. Gosh, I'm gonna have to just delete that. Let's see. Okay. And then after this, I'm gonna end. So this article is about a Catholic bishop, Bishop Snyder, who speaks on the Freemasonry. And it says here, no, thank you. It says here, in a speech that he gave in 2017 to Pontificate, I'm not going to try to say that. He gave this speech in 2017 in Germany. Bishop Snyder, he presented the history and the main characteristics of Freemasonry. In his presentation, he makes it clear that Masonry is forming an anti-church and has, in its higher degrees, a satanic orientation. So I'm going to scroll down to, let's see. Okay, here we go. So he says here in 2017, Freemasonry had its 300th anniversary of its foundation on June 24th, 1717. According to official reports, it was the result of a reunion of four lodges or secret societies, which formed then the Great Lodge of London. A Protestant clergyman, James Anderson, wrote the first, a Protestant clergyman, James Anderson, wrote the first Masonic Institutes. And I'm reading this just for us to have a better understanding of Freemasonry and certain things that this bishop is highlighting about it. It says the Catholic Church condemned this association of pseudo-religious background 20 years after its start with the highest ecclesial punishment, that being excommunication. Why? Because Freemasonry is a naturalistic religion, a mixture of pantheism, which it said that in the last article, gnosis, which is knowledge, and self-salvation. This religion is only apparently tolerant, so it appears to be tolerant, but it's not. In fact, it is an utmost demanding and intolerant religion. The Freemasons say about themselves that they would be the initiated, the perfect, and the illuminated people, and the remaining humanity is for them profane, imperfect, and darkened. Now, this is these groups of and mind you, they said this is the largest secret society in the world, and that this is what they think of the rest of humanity: profane, imperfect, and darkened, but that they have the true light. So the Masonic religion intends independence from the true God, so that the human being stands in the position of God, as God, which is what the Antichrist is going to do. He's going to sit in the temple and proclaim that he is God. So it says the Masonic religion intends independence from the true God, so that the human being stands in the position of God, takes the place of God, and decides about good and evil. So if you're really seeing this, you're seeing how things that have been playing out, still playing out, will lead up to the Antichrist. In the first grades of Freemasonry, there is venerated an uncertain and nebulous divinity as the great architect of the universe, who in the higher and then in the highest grades become more and more concrete. In the higher grades, this uncertain divinity is identified as Lucifer, Satan, as the good God, the adversary of the true God. And the true God is here the bad God. Deception at its best. The church recognizes that Freemasonry is a true and ever more powerful secret society with pseudo-religious content, which was spread very quickly in countless affiliated organizations and often under different names, which penetrated foremost powerful levels in society, in politics, and in the world of finances. So think of these major businesses, major corporations, and who their CEOs are. It was Pope Pius, and I don't know how to read Roman numerals, so forgive me, who in 1829 gave one of the most apt and precise definitions of Freemasonry. It is, scroll up, it is a satanic sect which has its demon as its God. The essence of the Masonic religion consists of the perversion, that is, of the subversion of the divine order of creation and of the transgression of the laws given by God. So it's what I was saying about Babylon, how it denies God and everything goes against everything that is God. The members of Freemasonry in its higher degrees see in this perversion the true progress of humanity, the mental building of the temple of humanity. Instead of God's revelation, there stands the Masonic secret, and the human being makes himself ultimately a God. In fact, Freemasonry is the perfect anti-church, where all the theological and moral foundations of the Catholic Church are turned into their opposite. And I would replace personally Catholic Church with the Church of God. I mean, the body of Christ. A Freemason once told his sister the following in a private talk: "Do you know what we Freemasons are, in fact?" So this person, who was a Freemason, told his sister, "We are the anti-church." It's playing out right now. Historians recognize in Freemasonry the seed of political totalitarianism is playing out right now. The confusion and the deceit of it consist in the fact that Freemasonry praises itself with attractive names and definitions like philanthropy. There are some people that refer to themselves, or they are referred to as philanthropists, if I can say it, i.e., example, Bill Gates. Humanism, intellectuality, tolerance, and at the same time, Freemasonry masks itself with these names. So whenever you see philanthropist, philanthropy, if I can say it, philanthropy, humanism, intellectuality, or whatever, I know I see philanthropy quite a bit. Know that that's a term that is associated with Freemasonry. And with the refusal of the supernatural divine revelation, Freemasonry also rejects the natural law. This is exactly the point which leads to all totalitarian systems. Already the Freemason Jean-Jacques Rousseau, maybe you remember him from history class. I know I remember him from history class back in high school. From Geneva wrote, "The life of a human being is not only a gift of nature, but a conditioned gift by the state." Interesting. Political and social anarchism is a phenomenon which mostly embodies the spirit of Freemasonry. Oh, that's what we've been seeing, haven't we? Since one of their key principles is order. I don't know how you say it, ordo ab chao, I don't know, but it means order out of chaos. Order out of chaos. We've seen quite a bit of chaos, and they want to bring an order out of that chaos, the chaos that we've seen in this nation. All right, this means that one must first create a chaos. They must create the chaos and then build a new other order, an order created by men. Wow, sounds like everything that's been attempted. In the ritual of the ancient accepted Scottish Rite from the year 1892, the candidate of the 32nd, these words, the penultimate degree of Freemasonry receives the following instruction. The first roar of guns came when Martin Luther, who was he was a monk, put into a Catholic, I believe he was a part of the Catholic religion, but he was a monk, put into his mind the rebellion of the reason. The second roar of guns came when it was announced in America that every human government receives its authority from the people and only from the people. The third roar of guns was when in France, the human rights and the formulation of liberty, equality, and fraternity were proclaimed. The candidate of the 33rd degree, that's what was mentioned in the other article, receives this instruction. And the following is the quotation from the same Scottish ritual: "Neither law nor property nor the religion may rule over men, and since they are annihilating men by depriving men of their most precious rights, we have sworn to do terrible vengeance. They, law, property, and religion, are enemies against whom we have sworn implacable war at any Christ. So they want to be rid of law, property, and religion. From these three infamous enemies, that the religion must be the permanent object of our deadly results, the religion. When we have destroyed the religion, we shall have the law and the property at our disposal, and we can regenerate the society by means of building the Masonic religion and the Masonic law and the Masonic property on top of the corpses of those murderers. According to the Masonic ritual, the word religion refers to the Christian. More concrete, well, the Catholic religion, well, I mean, the Christian, period, the Christ follower. Now, this is being written by a Catholic person, a person of the Catholic religion. It is known that the European Freemasonry, and in particular, Alexander Kerensky, the Grand Master of the Grand Orient of Russia, oh, here we go with Russia, supported logistically and politically the October Revolution. Here we go with revolution, Freemasonry and Revolution of 1917, in the year the 200th anniversary of the foundation of Freemasonry. Lenin and the new communist leaders did not tolerate any kind of rivalry. Therefore, they forbade traditional Freemasonry in the Soviet Union. At the third Congress of the Communist International Party in 1921. I'm sorry, I know this is a lot of reading, but it has a lot of relevant, good information in it that's revealing. So at the third Congress of the Communist International Party in 1921, traditional Freemasonry received the following significant assessment. Freemasonry reminds us through its rites of religious customs. However, we know that every religion suppresses people. Freemasonry represents a social power, and because of the secretive nature of its meetings and the absolute secrecy of its members, it is a state within the state. Reminds me of the deep state, if you know what I mean. On April 11th, 2001, on RAI, I don't know what that means, to Italian television media, Giuliano Bernardo, who was the Grand Master of the Masonic Lodge, GLRI, in the years 1990 through 1993, spoke the following significant words about the religious character of Freemasonry. One becomes a Freemason through initiation. The initiation is a constitutive act through which the human being is given a dimension which he did not have before. An analogy we find in baptism. One is not born a Christian, but one becomes a Christian through baptism. In the same manner, one becomes a Freemason through initiation. That means that one remains a Freemason for the whole life. Even if someone later rejects Freemasonry, he remains nevertheless a Freemason, even if one is sleeping. If one is an enemy of Freemasonry, one remains a Freemason. So once a Freemason, always one. That's what it's saying. Because Freemasonry supported also the so-called sexual revolution of 1968. The two Grand Masters of the two largest Masonic organizations in France, these two guys were actively engaged with some of their members in the Paris student revolts of May 1968. The said Grand Master Pierre Simon became the assessor of the Minister Simone Veil, who legalized. What did he do? He legalized abortion in France. So we can start seeing connections right here with Freemasonry and abortion. In 2012, the Paris newspaper Le Figaro, I don't know if that's how you say it, published a comprehensive dossier about Freemasonry, and Le Figaro let top members of Freemasonry speak in its newspaper forum. One of these Masonic officials openly stated that the laws legalizing abortion, the so-called same-sex marriage or marriage for all, and euthanasia were prepared in the idealistic Masonic laboratories. And then, with the help of lobbying and through their members in parliament, government, and in the government, they pushed through the legislation. Sounds like something that's happened in America in the last 8 years, or yeah, last 8 to 12 years. Well, certain things, not abortion was legalized, I believe, back in 1960 something, or I may not have the year right, but it was some years, decades ago. And this can be read in the newspaper Le Figaro from the year 2012. Because of its precision, the following analysis given in 1894 by Pope Leo, whatever that number is, about the essence, the principles, and the actions of Freemasonry can be hardly surpassed, and it fully remains. Hope it's not too much more. Let me see. Okay. I know there were some parts I was trying to leave out. Let me see. There is likewise a great danger threatening favored by agitations. Let's see. Okay, yeah, there are some things in this section that I do want to cover. I'm sorry, guys. I know it's long. Please bear with me. I just want to go through, finish this before I close out. There is likewise a great danger threatening unity on the part of that association which goes by the name of Freemasons, whose fatal influence for a long time past oppresses Catholic nations in particular, favored by the agitations of the times and waxing insolent in its power and resources and success. It strains every nerve to consolidate its sway and enlarge its spear. It has already sallied forth from its hiding places, where it hatched its plots into the throng of cities, and as if to defy the Almighty, has set up its throne in this very city of Rome. Interesting, the capital of the Catholic world. But what is most disastrous is that wherever it has set foot, it penetrates into all ranks and departments of the Commonwealth in the hope of obtaining at last supreme control. This is indeed a great calamity, for its depraved principles and iniquitous designs are well known. Under the pretense of vindicating the rights of a man and vindicating the rights of a man and of reconstructing society, it attacks Christianity. It rejects revealed doctrine, denounces the practices of piety, the divine sacraments. That's more Catholicism type things, and every sacred thing is superstition. It strives to eliminate the Christian character from marriage and the family and the education of youth. Things that we've seen infiltrated and perverted in recent years, and from every form of instruction, whether public or private, and to root out from the minds of men all respect for authority, whether human or divine. On its own part, it preaches the worship of nature and maintains that by the principles of nature, truth and probity and justice are to be measured and regulated. In this way, as is quite evident, man is being driven to adopt customs and habits of life akin to those of the heathen, only more corrupt in proportion as the incentives to sin are more numerous. Okay, let's see. Says one of the most cunning and therefore satanic manners of the fight of Freemasonry against its arch enemy, that is against the church, consists of the infiltration into the church. And says the following excerpt, recognized by many historians as authentic and quoted by Bishop Rudolph Graeber in his book, let's see, illustrates this truth. It says the Pope, whoever he is, will never come to secret societies. It is up to the secret societies to take this first step toward the church with the aim of conquering both of them. The task that we are going to undertake is not the work of a day, a month, or a year. It may last several years, perhaps a century, but in our ranks, the soldier dies and the struggle goes on. We do not intend to win the Pope to our case, to make them neophytes of our principles, propagators of our ideas. That would be a ridiculous dream. And if events turn out in some way, if cardinals or prelates, for example, of their own free will or by surprise should enter into a part of our secrets, this is not at all an incentive for desiring their elevation to the See of Peter. Not sure what that means. That elevation would ruin us. Ambition alone would have led them to apostasy. The requirements of power would force them to sacrifice us. What we must ask for, what we should look for and wait for as the Jews wait for the Messiah, is a pope according to our needs. Oh, wow. Now then, to assure ourselves a pope of the required dimensions is a question first of shaping him. For this pope, a generation worthy of the reign we are dreaming. So this is saying that these Freemasons are looking for a pope that would basically buy into their ideologies. That's what I'm getting. For this pope, let's see, leave old people and those of mature age aside, go to the youth, and if possible, even to the children. You will contrive for yourselves at little cost a reputation as good as Catholics and pure patriots. This reputation will put access to our doctrines into the midst of young clergy. My gosh, hopefully I'm almost done, as well as deeply into the monasteries. In a few years, by the force of things, this young clergy will have overrun all the functions. They will form the sovereign's council. They will be called to choose a pontiff who should reign. And this pontiff, like most of his contemporaries, will be necessary more or less. Let me see. I don't want to read all of that. I'm trying to quickly get to the end. I thought the end was soon. I don't know. Let's see. See, okay. So I'm just gonna skip down and just read these last few paragraphs because I know we've gone way over an hour. The power of the Masonic ideology in politics and society has reached nowadays its peak. This was written in 2017, I believe, wherein Freemasonry is spreading throughout the entire human society and ideology of destruction of life with the help of abortion and euthanasia. The concept and the reality of the family is undergoing a process of destruction through the brainwashing with the gender ideology enacted by the state. Every person who is still thinking by himself, and overall, every Christian must, as much as possible, give resistance and defend common sense and the divine law, even at the practice of suffering and disadvantages. As Christians, we have to know that Christ, the victor over all evil in this world, that God and not Freemasonry is the Lord of history. We belong to the community of the victors, even if the enemies of Christ, Freemasonry, are looking at us as the defeated ones. Skip down and read this last paragraph. However, at the same time, we shall all have from the bottom of our hearts true compassion with the members of Freemasonry because they are victims of an immense deceit. A Freemason is ultimately the utmost unfree human being whose eternal salvation of his soul is most endangered. May inside a church inside the church, a movement grow up to save the souls of Masons, who are our fellow beings. This should be done first, or, well, I'm not going to read that part because I don't agree with that part at all, for good reasons. So I'm going to end it there. Sorry if it was long and if it seemed not well put together. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. And then I'm going to continue next week with more, but on the Illuminati and their connection to Freemasonry and how they play into all of this. Yeah, I just wanted to define euthanasia just in case we don't know what that means. It's the act or practice of killing or permitting the death of hopelessly sick or injured individuals. And I've heard that's what they're doing now with people that have coronavirus symptoms, that where they seem like they are not able to be revived. They're just allowing them to die, basically, and not treating them. All right, so I'm ending it there until next time, where we will continue.